Rosemary is one of the most heat and drought tolerant plants that you can grow. So if you're wanting to add this herb to your repertoire, here are 5 top tips to make sure that you can grow it successfully. Tip number 1 is to make sure that you put rosemary somewhere where it gets full sun. Rosemary is a Mediterranean native, which means it can handle the heat. No matter what your growing conditions are, there's a high likelihood that you'll be successful in growing rosemary. Tip number 2 is that rosemary likes nutrient deficient soils, which means you don't have to spend a lot of money on high-end garden composts or nutrient-rich soils in order to be successful growing it. It actually thrives in acidic soil, and acidic soils are normally deficient in magnesiums, coppers and zincs. It can be grown in pretty much any native soil, so you can place it anywhere as long as it gets that full sun. One thing to be mindful of when planting rosemary is that it doesn't like its roots sitting in water for extended periods of time. So make sure whatever type of soil you're planting it in, it's free draining. You can even have success planting it in clay as long as the water doesn't saturate the roots. Otherwise it is susceptible to root rot. You'll know if your rosemary is getting root rot based on its yellow kind of appearance, and it will start to wilt and look a bit sad. Eventually this can kill the plant, but realistically it's extremely hardy, and as long as you plant it somewhere where the water runs off, it's going to be fine. Tip number 3 is to grow rosemary from cuttings. It is a lot easier to propagate new plants from cuttings than it is to grow from seed. And later in this video, I'm going to show you step by step just how you can go about propagating rosemary for yourself. Rosemary thrives on being left alone. You don't need to overwater or fertilize. The only time you really need to water it is when it's establishing. I wasn't joking when I say this plant is very hardy. Leave it alone, walk away from it, and just let it do its thing. Tip number 4 is pruning and caring for rosemary. Rosemary can handle gentle and regular pruning, but never cut back more than 1/3 of the tree at a time. This will cause unnecessary stress to it. As you need rosemary, simply come out, cut off the top young shoots, that's where the most flavour is, and you can use that straight away. If you're using it in a dish or cooking, no drying or preparations needed. Come out, cut off what you need, and use it straight away. If you're planning on growing rosemary somewhere where it snows in the winter, then I suggest growing it in a pot. This herb is more than happy to spend its entire life in a pot plant as long as the pot's big enough and you give it some soil from time to time. Plant rosemary in spring. Older plants can handle low temps and even a bit of frost, but if it's a young plant, you want to give it time to establish prior to any frosts. Now, rosemary is a medium bushy plant, so it's best to give it some space. You can prune it and to its desired shape and height, but be aware that as it matures, it's going to need its own space. Tip number 5 is propagation. Rosemary is one of the easiest plants to propagate. All you need to do is take your cutting, strip back the leaves halfway, and place it in some fresh water, changing out the water every couple of days to reintroduce oxygen. Take those cuttings and put them on a windowsill, somewhere where they get a good amount of natural light. And after about 3 to 5 weeks, you'll start to see roots shooting off of them. Once there are several roots, you can pot them up in a pot plant, and you've got a brand new rosemary plant. Hopefully, after watching this video, you're confident that you can grow rosemary at home. It really is a wonderful addition to any space, and I look forward to you having infinite amounts of rosemary for years to come. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing. This is a brand new channel and we're trying to grow it. Thanks so much for your time.